My connection's off.
Well, yeah, since you've been down there, it's been like that. That's not, it's, we got to figure
Well, anyway, we're live now, right?
We're live, and just to start off the show this morning, let's start with DraftKings. So there was news that Michael Jordan joined the board as some sort of outside special advisor. The stock popped really big this morning, and it's up nice right now. I sold my entire position at 43.50. I'm so pumped about it because that was the highest it was today. Originally, I had an order for 42.50, and then I realized I put it as a regular order, not an extended hour order, so it didn't go through. And then it went up another buck while I added the order. And my thought process is just this isn't anything that big. You have somebody joining the board that doesn't really change the fundamentals of the company. I've loved DraftKings this whole time to kind of get to these levels, but now they did, and we'll see what happens at open. What do you guys think?
Well, I sold 3/4 of my position. I didn't get as good a price as you, but the point is, I agree with you on that. I think that the name is so big that it created this excitement early. I think institutions will look at this and say, this is good for DraftKings, but short term, I don't think it's worth this kind of move in the stock. But, this is another Robinhood stock, so anything's possible. The old high on DraftKings is 44.79. They may make an attempt at it. It would not surprise me. The way this market's been, common sense doesn't play a big role right now. So I'm happy to hold on to a small position here, but I would definitely make sales if I owned anything in DraftKings.
I personally think this is a combination. The Jordan thing, sure, it's great long term for their credibility, but I think what this really is there was news yesterday about Trump talking to the Big Ten about getting the season going again quickly. I think when you really look at the data in this virus and the whole reason DraftKings has been a laggard for the past few months has been the fear of shutdowns with sports. And when you really look through the numbers, I think what this really is showing is there's a very good chance we're going to resume life as normal in the sporting world, especially when you look at the data of how many. The NFL has had 0 positive cases that were in false positives, 0. That sums it up. It's a number. This is a numbers thing. And finally, people are looking at the data.
Yeah, no, I think long term, I think you're right. On this news, I think it's overdone. But anyway, let's.
Well, no, what I'm getting at, this is not just Jordan news. I think that just.
Today it is.
Yeah. I'm sure some of it. Either way, I think this stock is a great value right now. That's why I bought more last week with that NBA garbage.
Yeah, but this stock before this news came out was actually down like a dime or up a dime. It was totally on this news that the stock has moved like this.
Well, yeah, Michael Jordan, we could highlight that. He's a once in a, not even generation, once in a century athlete. Right. So
anyway, let's
Zillow Group got an upgrade this morning from DB, and they've obviously been going up every day. They're at all-time highs. They're now over 90, and it's going to be interesting. Dad, I'm curious your opinion on just why, after an upgrade, they're still trading on no volume. This stock seems to only trade, 500,000 shares every day, which is shocking.
I don't know why the lack of interest from the pre-market crowd. It just never seems to.
There's going to be interest soon because they're going to be looked at as a technology company now. That's why. At the end of the day, I think people haven't actually grasped what Zillow is.
But you know what? I have like a list of volume stocks in order. Donkey Kong, which is DKNG, is the #1 stock today. Apple, #2. Apple up another 3 and change. It defies gravity. I keep selling options into it.
I sold some Apple yesterday. It's too high.
Then NIO, NIO. Again, big volume.
I was trading NIO yesterday, and Bob, we talked about at the end of the day prices that and he talked about 2010 And I was looking at it for a day trade, but I ended up having an open stop order if it hit 2010, and it did like right before close. So I was like, I'll just hold this. And
yeah, and the all-time high is 2097. I think it blows through that today if this is any indication. And then the next big volume stock is Rocket, which we talked about yesterday. Stock's up another 2 and change, and is at an all-time high. Earnings come out after the close. I mean, my guess it tries to get to 35 today. It wouldn't surprise me.
Let's go.
And then AMC, we spoke about that yesterday, and we kind of were down on the movie theaters. This stock is up huge today because they're opening up some theaters in California. So that's big in the heavy volume. And the last one that's over 1 million on my list, and there's a lot more, but this is just what I'm following, Tesla, which seems to be losing some of its pizzazz up at these levels. It's kind of up 3, 4, which is meaningless for this stock. I remain short. I got a buy order in at 461-ish, around there, because I think if it breaks through 470 on the downside, you get a big hit down quickly, and then maybe it'll bounce. But
I just sold my DraftKings. There's too much margin caught up in that. Now I have way more margin flexibility.
yeah.
It's crazy what margin they tie up.
But yeah, those are the stocks that I see as the action stocks today. And there's a whole bunch more, but that's what I'm following.
Yeah, I have most of those on my playlist. I want to add that yesterday I missed it, but Dave & Buster's again was up like 10%. They're now at 1838, and they're getting close to where they tested back in June. And to me, that's going to be kind of interesting because if we get through that, I'm starting to then buy into the recovery rally a little bit more.
Well, in a way, Dave & Buster's goes off of AMC because if the movie theaters are going to open, it's the same kind of thinking, right? And based on that, there's a company we mentioned before called Carrier, CARR. Punch that one in. This is real interesting because they're totally involved in refiltering these buildings where people are just stagnant in a building.
That's a Goldfeld stock.
Clean out the air. I mean, this stock has been on a tear.
Well, that's a Leon stock right there. He told me about them last week.
Yeah,
this CARR.
CARR. This is a Peter stock for a while, and he's been touting this since the low 20s.
So is it time to jump on, Bob?
Well, I think they're getting contract after contract here, which is interesting.
That chart's looking nice.
This seems like a company that no one's going to ever talk about. And, maybe this chart just goes way up from here.
Yeah, but for example, I don't know if Denver Schools is using them, but they're reconfiguring a lot of their filtration. A lot of the schools have to do that. Malls have to do that.
So this is literally an air conditioning company?
Yeah, it's an air conditioning company, but they have this filter, I don't know, that is approved for cleaning out the air really quickly. I don't know what it's called, but if you read about CARR, it's really right in the right category for, the reopening, because people have to have these things to feel safer. Even individual restaurants probably.
Yeah, when you think about indoor dining, the ventilation, and so this is probably a great play right now when you think about it, because they need to open up. I saw that Schmuck de Blasio was talking about keeping dining closed. I don't know if that guy is like just.
We're trying to keep this non-political.
No, it's not political. I'm just saying restaurants need to be open, and this is a prime candidate of a stock to help make sense of them opening. That whole thing makes no sense to me, how they still haven't opened dining.
I love this. I love this stock. I love the story and the fact that this is not. Yeah, I'm gonna probably scoop some of this up today and just
it's quiet though. this is not one of those stocks you're going to get a lot of action.
Well, it's quiet until we brought it up. Just like Dan said yesterday, that gun stock up 18% yesterday.
Well, you know who also brought it up 2 days ago was Portnoy on his show.
I think he has a little more pull than us.
I feel like me and him just think very similar. Like, I didn't even see him on that show the day before. Well, I think we have a lot of natural.
He's been talking about guns for months.
Yeah.
So yeah, Carr, that's a good one. It's gonna be a good one to keep an eye on. Clearly, it trades on super low volume. It looks like, but still, yeah. I almost like that. And that brings me to, and I know I brought them up yesterday, but been keeping close watch on Fiverr, which is now at all-time high levels. So them and Zillow, not that they're anything like each other, but they've almost been kind of trading together in terms of just slowly going up each day, small volume. And it's weird because, not weird, I'm just trying to kind of figure out Fiverr because I love the company. I know we've been talking about how this chart's a little stretched thin, but I like companies when they break through those all-time high levels, especially in this market. So, you know, I'm not even going to say I'm going to keep my eye on it. It trades on low volume, so it's not like really that exciting of a stock to watch every day, even though.
And Mike, another stock, Peloton, which is through the roof today on an upgrade.
I mentioned that a couple of days ago, why I liked Peloton more with when Zoom popped on earnings. That was immediately what came to mind was, well, Peloton is going to gain more momentum here. So that I think they're even now, when you really look at their whole game plan, they are just probably the biggest winner of everybody in this whole pandemic, with not only expediting their model, but I think you're going to see a lot of people never go back to a gym, personally.
Well, wait a minute. I was in a gym yesterday.
No, but even hear me out here. When I say never go back to a gym, I mean a public gym. A lot of these high-end apartment complexes, office units, they have Pelotons. People, they have a lower price point Peloton now. And like I've said for a while, I think these guys are a candidate for a roll-up of one of the big tech guys at some point with where we're heading with wearables.
I liked Peloton when it was in the 40s. Now I think it's just insane. And I get it. Like, they're the leader in this space. I feel like it's a
How is it insane, though? Based on what?
Wait, what'd you say?
How is it insane? When you look at what they've carved out and how many Pelotons now are out, and when you look at their orders and their supply chain, I don't see how this is insane at all.
I just look at it like the big part of the growth story was last quarter, and there's not that much going to change from when the pandemic started and everyone was buying Pelotons. But what I was about to say was, to me, there's a list of companies where if there's a sell-off, they're coming down huge. And I have this company on that list. But
I don't agree with that at all. I think when you look at what they're starting to do with even the data on all of their users and making them be more, in the health conscious mindset, we're going to see they're probably going to roll up one of these lifestyle companies for figuring out how to help, keep these people healthy with meal plans. And I just think there's so many synergies with Peloton that I think there's way more room to run here personally. I don't look at that sell off when the market sells off at all.
You got all the momentum going with this stock, along with a lot of other ones. So
but it's merited. It's not fluff momentum.
Well, yeah, it's.
Well, I mean, look, I think there's fluff momentum in 100 stocks.
I agree, and Peloton is not one of them.
And actually, one of the things that you can measure is the greed and the fear factor. And greed hit a very high level yesterday, which is a sign of a sell-off.
That's why I've been getting slowly out of margin. At one point, I was all in margin. Now I'm barely in any. I've been slowly, as people get more greedy, I'm getting a bit more fearful.
My cash position right now is the highest it's been in a couple of months. And I'm going to continue to keep it higher and higher until there's a sell-off. And if I miss the last 10% of this,
Yeah, it's like whatever. You'll gain it back when it sells
no,
off.
it's just you can't pick the tops, and
Well, you could, just not all the time, and no one's
Just
perfect.
just to let everybody know, I'm just pulling this up right now. The weekly RSI right now for the 1 year chart on the NASDAQ sits at 76.62.
right.
Where it was at the peak in February was, I believe, around 76, 76. It was basically right here. It, sometimes gets a little bit above 80. Anytime it gets above 70, it's a matter of time. Obviously, there could always be that time where it runs up to 95. To me, if there's going to ever be a time where it runs up to 95, it's this type of market. But there's no doubt that this is the type of situation where there could be a steep sell-off at any point, including this afternoon. And then the S&P RSI 68, so a little bit lower. And this kind of brings me to what I was going to get to. And then if you look at the Dow, I think it's even lower. It's at 62. So to me, maybe there's a situation where you see, because a lot of people just look at the actual indexes, and there's people who talk about the stocks, and there's people who talk about the indexes. Perhaps you see a situation where the indexes see a steep sell-off because some of these names that have rallied out of control have some sort of sell-off, whether it's 5, 6, or even 10%. But then these names that have been huge laggers could possibly rally at the same time that the other ones are selling off, where you could potentially see a rotation where there's a lot of stocks that are doing really, really well, but the market as a whole is getting crushed. And I'm hopeful that when there is this sell-off that is probably going to happen in any day, that kind of goes along with it, where maybe like the Fords of the world hang in there during the sell-off, because maybe it's a little bit more of a rotation, and that would bring down all these levels that people look at as these sell-off indicators. To hear your thoughts on
that may be a little bit of wishful thinking, but that would be nice.
Yeah. All right. Well, I guess I'll chalk that up as wishful thinking then.
Well, it could work, but the markets are never that precise where you're going to get that comfort level. You got to have discomfort at some point. And
I think this recent run up too is the more likelihood of Trump being in office, where that's been clearly happening. The race has tightened, and now there's more and more people coming out saying he's going to win easy, not even that it's a tight race.
But when I was at the gym last night, I ran into this portfolio manager I know who works for a big mutual fund, and he said in all his career he's never been able to make money this easy, and that scares him to death. And I think there's a lot of people in that boat where it's just too easy, and that's usually, right around the corner from there, you got an issue.
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about it for a couple of weeks. There's clearly going to be a pullback. We don't know. No one knows when, but it's better to be ahead of it than behind it.
And, if you separated the stock market from the world right now, you would think that there's no way. If you just looked at the world and did not look at the stock market, and someone said, what's the stock market doing? You would definitely not think it was at all-time highs based on what's going on everywhere.
Yeah. And, with that, just to do a little touch on where the markets stand as a whole right now, looks like it's going to at least open up. What it does from there is always what's going to be interesting. Dow looks like it's going to be up like 140 points. NASDAQ and S&P too. The one thing I'll say, and I know I was telling you this yesterday, I've been circling 12,000 just as a mental psychology level for NASDAQ, and it's basically right there. So it's going to be interesting to see what it does at those levels, because, that's got to be a major psychological level for a lot of people.
I think we'll see a post-Labor Day pullback is the reality. We have Labor Day Monday. It's like the whole holiday weekend, and then fall, cold weather creeps in. You're going to just see the sentiment around the what if of the virus talk. It's just, the world's rigged like that. So we'll see that start coming back in the conversation, no doubt, next week. That's my guess as we come into after Labor Day with a bad market for a little stretch.
Yeah, and to kind of add to that, I kind of agree, because you got to think that weeks like this, a lot of big portfolio managers are probably taking off on vacation. It's probably more of like a low volume week for the market as a whole. So yeah, I could see how it goes inches higher, and then that happens. To add
I'd
to what you said,
next week if it's a good week, I really would be. I'd be shocked.
Yeah, no, me too. But to add to what you said about the narrative, I did see this morning that, I don't know if it was all of China, but Beijing lifted their international travel restrictions, and the WHO obviously was losing their minds about it, saying how winter's coming, the analogy from Game of Thrones. But,
it doesn't matter if winter's coming. If you look at 94% of deaths had underlying conditions with COVID. So at the end of the day, it's time to open up the floodgates here and quit the crap. That's where we're at.
And possibly that's the markets realizing that, and that's why, maybe that's another big reason that the market's up big right now.
It's a combo of that and Trump being reelected. I think when you look at those things, that's where we're at, and why naturally, though, we still are due for a pullback, because this is all best case scenario baked in.
Yeah, right? And Gottlieb was on this morning on CNBC, who I always think is a man of reason. And he said that there's going to be a home test probably by the end of the year, similar to a pregnancy test. It's available now, but the FDA hasn't approved it because they're worried about people reporting it to, the state, so they know how many cases there are. But if people are going to be able to just do a test at home really cheap, then they're going to get this thing under control, whether there's a vaccine or not. And that's going to be great for businesses to be able to do testing right there.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I know I have the Chewy chart pulled up. I just realized I had it pulled up for a while. That's, Mike, I know you've been talking about them a little bit. That's another one that surged yesterday. I'm annoyed because I was day trading it the day before, because that's when it got the upgrade. And I made a little bit of money, but it really wasn't moving much. So I ended up just getting out of it. And then yesterday is when it ended up having the big move, which was weird to me. But Chewy, another stock that's just, as of this week, went on an absolute tear. So
I keep seeing the boxes everywhere. It's, people love their dogs and cats.
For sure.
And Match, Mike, which you've mentioned a number of times, Bumble looks like they're going to be going public, but not till next year. That is $6 to $8 billion market cap.
The Match finally has some competition.
Well, they have the competition already. It's just going to be a competition to buy a stock.
As a public company, that's more so what I meant. Yeah, look, I still really like Match. I think I was actually I was looking at their chart last night, thinking to myself, like, oh, the stock's actually had, if you look at what it's done in the last, sort of, but, it's had somewhat of a consolidation period. And I think its highs were like around 120, probably a little higher, 123. So it wouldn't surprise me if that stock breaks out again at some point here soon. But who knows? It's a matter of if these stocks are going to break out before or after the market is a sell-off. And if the market is a sell-off, is it going to be just a healthy, small little 6% correction? Or is it going to be some massive something that just,
I think it's all about the virus and the election.
Well, you know what I would think would be interesting? If you're Match or Bumble, somehow incorporate this home test that's going to come out, that you have to send your results in before you could be on the site. You could have like a separate category for people that have tested negative within 24 hours.
Interesting.
That sounds like a cool opt-in for them to charge more for. I personally would not even.
You may not do it, but you might get people that are in their 50s or 60s that are on these dating sites.
I mean, there's been a bunch of girls I've refused to even open up the dialogue with off of the profile and like closed-mindedness with that. Oh, we're not meeting until this. It's like, well, I won't ever be meeting you.
All right,
I wonder, what about taking your profits on Donkey Kong and buying Michael Jordan sneakers?
Nike?
Yeah, call Ian up, ask him which one is the right one to buy, and you add it to the collection.
That's a Jim Cramer comment right there. Take some profits out of this market, buy something nice that if there's a sell-off, you're not.
Oh, you mean actual shoes, not the stock? I thought you meant
buy shoes. Nike. No, go buy a nice pair of shoes.
I mean, hey, we got the joggers right here.
Let's go.
All right.
Another
story there
we talked about yesterday, and I didn't end up buying it. I looked at it when it was at 4, and I was like, I don't know. There's just more exciting stuff right now in the market. But Waiter obviously bounced off 4. I don't know if anyone took that trade, but now at 420.
I refuse to touch Waiter unless they're paying us. I have zero interest in entertaining, giving them any volume.
Just being in the industry, I know Waiter's a good buy because I know they're going to get acquired, and
that doesn't mean the price that they're a good buy here.
I think they are. I think they're going to get acquired at a price higher than this. I think well, hopefully he's doing well on them and he bought them at a good price. But what I was going to say with Waiter is they got a lot of things going for them. One, they're profitable in a space where none of their competitors are. They are growing to an extent. There's someone that's going to want their market share. And I think they have the behind-the-scenes connections to get the valuation that they need to make everybody happy with Tillman.
Dan, if you're loving Waiter, you better be loving Lodell even more because the difference there is we're self-funded. So I mean, you don't have to report to some suit who is deciding what to buy.
I invested my own money in Lodell. I don't own any Waiter. I'm just talking about from the chart technical point of view. It seems like 4 is a level that's met by buyers. And
yeah, I like that you highlighted that because I will be dumping more money in our own business before I dump a cent into Waiter. They'll be waiting their entire lifetime for that to happen.
I'm not sitting here saying that I think Waiter is going to be the company in the food delivery space that wins by any means.
Let's keep in mind they left one of the markets we're still in. So the only market we coexisted in, they're no longer in.
Look, if you're looking to buy Waiter short term, you got to wait for it to break through 426. I don't think I would buy it until then. At this point,
I'm pumped to see those guys ship into the sunset. I'm not touching them.
We're talking about the stocks, not the company. What?
Before we hop off of here, I know we've been talking about them a little here, but Fiverr and Zillow. If you were to look for points to try and play these breakouts, because it wouldn't shock me if at 10 a.m., you see major volume coming to Zillow. I feel like you've seen that a couple times here the last couple of weeks when there's an upgrade. Nothing really happens. And then, an hour and a half later is when the noise starts up. So Zillow, I know, like they touched, I think, over 94 this morning. Now they're under 92. But
I got Fiverr up first. And to me, it looks like if you're looking to buy this thing, 126 and a quarter is what I'd be looking for on a buy.
To where it is right now.
And I would, if you're just going for a small amount, I would sell it in front of the all-time high or hold and buy more if it gets through there.
With the all-time high, which I'm pretty sure was this morning, right? Like 127.50-ish.
Well, I'm looking I'm not looking at today's move. It was 128.5 actually. I'm looking more at 127, 32, 35, which is yesterday.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, this stock looks like it's about to break out again to 150. I don't know.
The other one you said Zillow, right?
Yeah, ZJ.
This is much more difficult because it's on such a run that I think I would wait for a pullback to maybe 85.5.
keep in mind, Zillow, after they had earnings, which at this point was like over a month ago, they went to 85 and then pulled all the way back to like 78 before starting their journey up through 85 again.
Well, that's what they do. And then they had new all-time highs. Then they'll pull back to the old all-time highs. I like where Dad's head's at there. That's what I'm waiting on to get back in there.
Yeah, to buy it here is a little tough. And especially, you know, thinking as the background that you think the market's going to come in.
The day, yeah, well, you know, Zillow on a market pullback is dropping.
Definitely.
Yeah,
I'm more talking
about to 66 if the market really has a fall.
Definitely. I'm more talking about if for whatever reason there's a volume spike in Zillow today and it becomes
great day trade opportunity. For sure.
It wouldn't shock me if this stock is massively today and at some point has just a really big volume spike in the day because
I could see them being up huge intraday. It's definitely a good opportunity to probably buy some at the open, which I might do, and then sell off late afternoon.
Well, that's where it's tough because it's already up $3.50 before open, but it was
I'll follow Zillow's chart and probably get in there and get out.
Yeah, it was up another $2 this morning. So
I've been riding that roller coaster ongoing for the last month.
All right.
Let's make some money.